all he ever worked with. I don't know if anyone knows his Philosopher's book, but all he did was pop up a softbox. I'd hold a black backdrop, look at Norma Major's head for 5 minutes, and then we go and have a pint. So that was. So I don't regret not assisting. I don't think that, and I don't think photographers regret me not assisting as well.
Well, it's funny actually, because I was talking to Steve on Friday night, and he's still doing exactly that, and still working with the same camera he was working with in 1982, even though he's now the contracted photographer for the New Yorker.
He's working on Philosophers too.
He is, and it comes out in May.
But on one shoot that I was assisting him on, we were shooting Chris Floyd, who's the chef, Keith Floyd for his book cover, and I put the Rolleiflex he's used so consistently on the wrong setting, so it didn't sync with the flash, so everything came out blank, and we had to reshoot it. A few days later, the first round was on me after that.
So from that point on, you decided to work for yourself?
Yeah, I think for everyone's benefit.
And a lot of your work seems to come from personal projects and self-initiated projects. Is that something you realised very early on is what you were going to need to do to progress the career?
After the breakthrough with the Sunday Times magazine, an agency called IPG took notice, and I looked into who they were, and they had 10 photographers, a lot of whom I'd studied at university. Zed Nelson was one, Tom Stoddard was another, Harry Gordon, David Medell, swinging men, big names. So they took me on board, as to tick the Martin Parr box, and I was called into the office, and John Easterby, the director, said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean, what am I going to do?" He said, "Well, Zed's shooting guns in America, Tom Stoddart's shooting AIDS in Africa, David Medell's doing his conservative project, what are you going to do?" So I said, "Well, how does it work?" He says, "We'll fund your projects 50-50, so we'll fund it and we'll go 50-50 on the profits as well, if there are any." So I spent 3 years documenting the drinking habits of the English. So I really, so it was more from IPG that I realised big projects had to be, and personal projects had to be worked.
And how long did you spend on that, the drinking project?
It's been a lifetime's research. But I think the bulk of it was shot in 3 years, so and it showed me what a success it could be. It ran over 11 pages in the Sunday Times magazine, was published worldwide, and picked up a World Press Award for the people in the news category. So I've continued that, and I'm trying to sort of find other categories to shoot in England.
Is it very hard to come up with the concepts for these projects? Or is it something that has to come from within? Hence the drinking, and then
I've done love. Love. So I did love in the UK, ethnicity in the UK. That's very worthy. And rain in the UK, and I've done summer. So
there's a theme.
And hopefully it's all going to come together in another decade as one grand sort of epitaph.
But it's interesting you say that, because a number of the photographers I've spoken to over the last couple of days have talked about, and Steve Pike, who I was talking to on Friday, as I was just saying, he's talking about projects that have taken 25 years and they're not yet completed. And you see that as projects being very, very long-winded and extended. And I said to him, how do you know when a project like that is finished?
What did he say?
He said he just knew.
Oh, okay.
What did he say?
Maybe you start shooting the same, repeating your shots, or losing interest. I think that's more my way of knowing it's over.
And how are you funding these projects because anybody who's read your initial diaries in the magazine or heard you talking on our podcast will know that it's a hard life.
Yeah, I'm from a working class background. I have no inherited wealth, no funds, no shares, no bonds, no savings, no car, no garage.
Cameras?
I've sold most of them. But so to fund it, I'll do anything really. I've washed up dishes, worked in canteens, dug holes for gardens. you know, I could be a little more cautious with my money.
Right.
I left IPG in 2005, and I had £35,000 on credit card.
Right.
Which, you know, was largely down to the pub next door.
Right.
Some of it was project.
And also the collapse of IPG was not a great time either.
But I got taken on by a commercial agent that got me a job that cleared it.
Right.
So, you know, but I was so delighted with this chunk of money that I kind of blew that as well. So,
right, okay.
But got another few projects out of it. So,
but did you not think that perhaps, you know, that moment when you earned that amount of money from doing commercial work, maybe that was a good road to travel, but you went back to
well, I thought it would happen. I thought it would happen again, you know, sooner rather than later.
But not the case.
Not to that degree, you know. But
right.
I don't know. I was up to my 20s, but you know, you're sort of quite flamboyant with the future, I think.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. So the whole situation of, and you talk about in your diary of every day sort of trying to work as a photographer and trying to initiate yourself, and it's that actual process of getting out of bed is quite difficult.
Well, it's got harder. As I mentioned in the first diary in 2007, 76 of my days were commissions abroad, you know, plus there was my own project, so I was out of the country half the year.
Yeah.
2008 it was 56 days, 2009 15 days, this year 3.
Right.
And I don't think it's because I've become a woeful snapper.
Right.
You know, overnight.
No, it's just the state of the industry.
The state of the industry. So it is very hard. The phone used to ring. Expenses could be racked up. Fees were good. I mean, you remember paying people £750 a day for editorial.
I did.
There was
I was always very generous to you, but I was as generous as I could be. But it's not necessarily the case anymore that you can be generous, and the kind of work that you do can put you into very difficult situations, as well as difficult financial situations.